Okay.
Hi, Nicole. How's it going?
Hey, Brittany, it's so good.
Awesome. So, this is part two of our church history series using astrology to break down the birth chart of Joseph Smith and historical church events around this time in Come Follow Me, where everybody's reading along. So, this is really fun. Last week, we went over Joseph Smith's astrological birth chart and over the transits in 1820. And then, Nicole, you reached out to me this week and said you actually have evidence that you learned from somebody else. And you want to share tonight that we have a date for the first vision. And I think the evidence is pretty astounding. So I'm excited to see what you have to share about that. And then we'll break down the astrological chart for that event. The date of, do you want to share it?
It is March 26th, 1820.
Awesome.
So I am just so excited about this because after our discussion, I was like, oh, this was fun. Like, and done. Like, it was fun. And I was just like, I didn't know that we'd get a chance. But then I went to church on Sunday and I'm visiting my mom up in Utah. And lo and behold, the woman teaching her gospel doctrine class was someone who consulted on a documentary that was researching the date of the first vision. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I'm like, as soon as I got back, I like sent Brittany a message. So,
And I
um,
watched the documentary right away. I was on a little mini road trip and I was like, perfect. And I was blown away. I didn't think that I would um, I don't know what to expect, but there was just so much evidence. And I was like, God really wanted people to know that there was a specific date in mind. And I think it's so awesome that we have the honor of breaking down the chart for this.
yes,
I think that's
yes. So
it seems so synchronistic that that fell into your lap on Sunday.
it is just like the Lord always sends multiple witnesses. Like it's crazy, and they usually come when it's unexpected. So I'm gonna pull up my chart or PowerPoint, and we are gonna go here. This is the PowerPoint shared from, hold on, slideshow, start from beginning. Um, Shared from the teacher. And so I just adapted a little bit just to kind of condense it for this presentation, but just to kind of show you how they got this information, where they got this date, we're going to kind of do a little recap real fast. So there are multiple accounts of the first vision, and there's only one that mentions the weather, and it's Joseph's account in 1838, and he says it was on the morning. It was a beautiful, clear day early in the spring of 1820. And so we have a few things. It was a beautiful day. It was clear, and it was early in the spring. Okay. And so she asks, what year did the US government start keeping weather records? 18 freaking 20. Are you
I
kidding
know.
me?
That's crazy.
Like absolute nuts. And not that the weather didn't matter before then, but like the Lord knows, right? Like, isn't that like, even if we didn't know the date, he provided a second witness, right? He provided another witness to help us learn more.
Yeah.
So, this awesome woman right here, Lindsay Stores, she is a meteorologist. She's in my mom's ward, and she was the new gospel doctrine teacher, and she was the one teaching. And the little documentary, it's a short one, it's like 35 minutes. It's available on YouTube. You can scan the QR code here. It looks like this in the picture, but it was filmed in 2018. And it was two researchers that were trying to figure out the date for the first vision. And so this one guy, he was studying weather records and trying to pinpoint the date. And Sackett's Harbor is the closest location. It's about 80 miles from Palmyra. And the weather, um, so a lot of people have speculated that it might have been April 6th, 1820, right?
Mm.
But April 6th, 1820, that day was it was cloudy, it was 32, it was really windy, and it had snowed the day before and it had sleet the day after. I
So
would
not
not
a
consider
lovely morning.
not a lovely morning at
No.
all.
Okay, so we
And
can't do that one.
so that little, urban Mormon legend is,
Ah,
no, not working. So as they narrow down the dates, these are the five possible dates that it could have been, for, a beautiful, clear day, the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, or the 28th of March, or April 14th. And so all of them had clear skies. The 7 a.m. temperature were above 40 degrees. Because to me, I'm a Texan, and so like below 60 is cold for me.
oh,
So I thought it was nice that they did below 40. But for New York, I'll give it to them.
yeah.
But all those had clear skies and the temperature was above 40. But one of them was above the rest, March 26th. It had clear skies and the morning temperature was almost 60 degrees, which is pretty warm for a spring morning.
Wow, yeah.
And it also, the Smiths were maple sap farmers. They farmed maple sap and would make sugar out of this. And the maple sap, and they go into detail in the documentary, but it's very dependent upon a freeze and thaw cycle.
Yeah.
And because of the freeze and thaw cycle, which is kind of above my pay grade, but it the only day that it would have not been running and the Smiths wouldn't be working is March 26th, based on the temperatures and the cycle and everything. And it also happened to be on a Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So,
I think that part about the maple syrup, yeah, because it's not something they can skip on. He can't just skip a day's worth of work when there's maple that needs, there had so many trees, they had to be worked. But if it was too warm, they could not work, so they had a day off. And so it would definitely have to have been above 60 or around that point for him to have a day off.
yeah.
So remarkable.
So crazy. So those were the main things. There's also a second uh, line of study that we might talk about, called the Calendar of Enoch. This is from the Book of Enoch that was removed from the biblical canon, um, by the Catholics back in the 300s
Yeah.
AD sometime. Um,
Mm.
so if we have time, we might touch on that, but it gets a little complicated, but it really like it also verifies that March 26th, 1820 is like the start of a new massive time period according
Yes.
to their calendar.
Yeah, that part was over my head too. But I think that was the gist of it though. Like this was the beginning of
Yes.
something
Yes.
brand new in God's timetable. And I love that because this is Aries season also, same season Jesus was born in. And in this chart here, you've got the node right at 1 degree Aries. This is the brand new beginning of something. I'm
It
really excited.
is. It is. And it's also the ending. Like you've got Pluto there at 27 degrees Pisces, so it's getting close to the end. Chiron is right there at the end of Pisces. And you've got these endings and you've got lots of beginnings. And I look at this and they're over here in this 12th house. Now, the 12th house in astrology represents things that are unseen. It represents things that are other side of the veil. It represents things that are very, very like highly spiritual. And
Mhm.
so when we look at this chart and we have all of these things, we've got the planet Pluto, Chiron, the North Node, Saturn, the Sun, Mercury, and Vesta, all there in that 12th house. That's a lot of action happening in the
Yeah.
unseen world.
Yeah. Amazing. I think it's amazing that Chiron and Pluto are together with the North Node there. I was reading I just got this book. This is Astrology, a Cosmic Science by Isabel Hickey. And I'm always looking for new understandings of the meanings of the planets. And one word stuck out to me. She used Pluto, and she used the word consecration. And I was
Oh,
like, whoa, that's amazing. And with Pluto and the 12th house, you get both um, the sacred and the profane. You know, it's the light and the dark.
yes.
And in her definition, Pluto was heaven and hell. And Joseph Smith, that morning, he had that experience of that period of darkness where he thought he was going to be overcome by some unseen, powerful, dark being. And then, right when he prayed out to God, that the light filled that space and he was freed from uh, that dark point. And then that, initiated the first vision where Jesus Christ and Heavenly Father appeared to him. And so I just thought that that word consecration with Pluto there was a whole new meaning for me when I saw
Oh, I
that.
love that. I love that so much. And Pluto is known for, it's known for death and rebirth. It's known for transformation and like serious transformation, not just like, oh, I think I'm going to change my hair color. No, this is like life-changing transformation. And not only because this chart is not specific to Joseph, this is specific to the world and what was happening at that moment. And so this, the Father and the Son appearing to man and declaring what they did, um, that was definitely a death and a rebirth of sorts. Um, and Chiron being that soul wound, and just I think to me, like the soul wound would be not having they don't have priesthood authority, they don't have communication from God on it's not restored, right?
Mhm.
And so having that soul wound right there, like crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And in his natal chart, he has his natal Pluto in Pisces still, and now it's at the end degrees of Pisces, right?
Mhm.
And in Pisces, it's actually exactly 8 degrees where transiting Jupiter is on this very day.
Oh, wow.
So Pisces, is also spirituality, mysticism, faith, religion. It's also that transcendent experience. And so when that hits Pluto, Pluto is like a very like deep dive yearning and to research, an obsession to understand, to dive deep into something. So he was already really, since birth and the climate and community everybody was really focused on religion and trying to find the meaning of life and what was true, what was right. And when Jupiter hits that natal placement of his own Pluto, it's almost like his wish fulfillment. And his prayer was literally answered. That deep yearning, that deep dive that he was seeking was finally coming into fruition. It was expanding his wisdom, his understanding in like a sublime way that none of us could comprehend. Because it's also making aspects to Uranus and Neptune over here, which
Mhm.
is crazy to me.
Yeah, we can see the aspects a little bit easier on this chart. It's the same date, just a different system. And
Mhm.
you've got, this big party, right here on this Aries Pisces line going right over to this Uranus Neptune where they're conjunct, they're together. And so they're not exact, but they're very like I would consider they conjunct. Like they're
Yeah.
pretty close, especially being outer planets. And when you see this red line, this is called a square. And so this just creates a lot of tension between, but it can also create a lot of support between these energies. And so sometimes it can feel like pushing against something, but it really is like if you think about a shelf, to have
Ah,
a strong shelf, you've got to be, make a
9 degrees.
square to be
Yeah,
have that good support, right?
that's
And
good.
that's kind of what a square is in a chart. When you see those red lines, when you see that square aspect, there's a lot of support, but it can be it's tense, like it's intense. And when we're looking at this Neptune Uranus, so Neptune is very Pisces like, right? Neptune's rules Pisces, like it's very intuitive, it's very kind of mystical, other side of the veil, unseen things, just like that higher spiritual um awareness and connection. And it really is kind of the window to the beyond, is kind of how Neptune is. And then Uranus there, his little buddy for a while. They're just dancing together for a while there. Um,
Yeah.
Uranus, it deals with technology. It deals with like new and innovation and ideas and things like that. It deals with revolution. It
Mhm.
deals with shaking things up. And so you've got, you know, all this happening, playing off of each other right in this moment. And it's just like big things were happening in New York in 1820.
Yes. And it's hitting his natal sun, which is at 1 degrees Capricorn, right there where Neptune is. And even his natal Jupiter is within 7, 8 degrees that Uranus, and Jupiter in Sagittarius. So that I love that Uranus is still in Sagittarius because it's revolutionizing religion and
Relation to truth.
yeah, the meaning of truth. It's just like when it's hitting his sun sign and squaring all of this, this is like a tangible spiritual awakening, like a first-hand spiritual awakening. This isn't something that was internal. This was something that was very, very real to him, and it shaped his entire worldview and his life mission. I'm wondering, I had a question though.
Yeah.
So I know sometimes when planets come out of the 12th house and transit into the first house, it's kind of like there's an illumination or some new information is learned based on like what that planet means or represents. And I thought it was interesting. I just thought of this right before we logged in. I know the North Node's not a planet. It's like a mathematical point of the moon's node, but it represents like purpose, right? His destiny. And coming out of the possible 12th house or Pisces at least, maybe it's like in that moment his destiny was also being illuminated in with all of this happening. So I just feel like there's so much evidence about a profound spiritual awakening happening to
Yeah.
him, like everywhere in the chart.
I,
And
I completely agree.
yeah,
Um,
and nowhere is there like, oh, he was a fraud, or oh, he liked to trick people, or you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's so much evidence to the contrary that something deeply transformative happened that rocked his entire world
Yeah.
and our entire world as well. Um, what other thoughts came to you when you saw this chart?
So another thing, and I know you typically deal with whole house, but I usually don't read whole house. And so on this chart, you can see right here the line for the 12th house starts in Pisces, it skips Aries and goes to Taurus to start the first house. And what this is called an interception. And what this kind of represents energetically is it means that this Aries or whatever energy is over here that got kind of skipped or swallowed up, it's a little bit more hidden. It's a
Mhm.
little bit harder to access. And
Yeah.
so even though like this was so real and so poignant and so life-changing for Joseph, it was hidden from other people,
Yeah.
right? And so it was not obvious. And it wasn't and even though they were he was so mocked for, and he still is.
Yeah.
And so I thought that that was very interesting that 12th house has that intercepted Aries. And so it's like it
Yeah.
really is kind of just, it has that other hidden element there, where Aries is in general is not a very hidden energy. Aries is a very
Oh,
take charge, starting energy. Here I am. I'm going to start swinging the sword and get everything out of my way, whatever, good or
Yeah.
bad. Like Aries is just like, I'm just going to do it. And let's get this party started. And
Interesting because the North Node, like we said, is the destiny, the purpose, where we're all going towards. But it's right next to Saturn, which would really like
yes,
put some delays, pumping the brakes. And he had to
yeah,
wait
let's look at the
3 more
degrees.
years before he could, access any other divine revelation. What do I do next? What do I do with this
Yeah.
information that just happened to me? Well, now you got to wait 3 years. Like you said, it was intercepted. That's so interesting.
Yeah, and it's, I would consider them conjunct. There are 1 degree and 3 degrees, that North Node and Saturn. And so
Mhm.
Saturn is just, it's that energy of Saturn is so refining. It's so exacting and it just demands not perfection, but mastery.
Yeah.
And that's really what the next, few years for Joseph, he's going to have to get to a point where in 3 years, Moroni comes to visit him again. And he's like, you've got to work on this until you can get the plates so that you can translate the Book of Mormon. And so that started here, right? He really had to develop mastery within himself so that he was worthy to receive the plates and take on his next task, so to speak.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. What else? Anything else you want to add about this chart?
Oh, I love this chart. So a few things is this is a Taurus rising chart, which Taurus energy is super interesting. It's very sensory based. And so Taurus energy, it has to feel right, it has to smell right, it has to taste right, it has to look right. And so that's kind of when we look at the rising sign, this is kind of the first impression that people will have of whatever is being, usually we're talking about a person, but we're talking about an event here. And so I think in the light of an event, having that rising energy, it's just this is going to have kind of the lens of senses, and honestly, like with all the energy in that Pisces and the 12th house, like this is going to be more, I would say, like sixth sense type sensory experience. Taurus energy is also, it's a slower energy. It's not quick to change, it's not quick to accept, um, but it's very loyal, it's very steady. And so you kind of have the people all around, the whole kind of view of the world at this point is like, I don't want to change. We're good. And I don't know, it just that I didn't dive super deep into that because Taurus energy is a little perplexing for me. I don't have a lot of earth energy in my chart, and so I'm kind of always kind of scratching my head with earth energy. Do
Yeah.
you have any thoughts on that Taurus rising?
The only thing that came to my mind was like, the love of God. That's what it would feel really satisfying, down to the core. And when you see Venus in Taurus, you think of someone who's like very deeply fulfilled
Yes,
and very solid and dependable in that love. That love would be unconditional. That's where I think I would say about that.
I love
That
that. Yeah, I think
unconditional
that,
love and
yeah,
dependent.
that Venus Taurus combination definitely is that unconditional love. Um, Another thing is the moon is down there in Virgo. And Virgo to me is just, to me, Virgo is one of the most pure energies. Like they are just, that Virgo energy is like they want things to be right. They
Mhm.
want things to be correct. They want
Yeah.
things to be perfect. And so the moon in the chart is going to represent kind of the inner self, the inner emotions, um, things like that. And so with the event, and it's at zero Virgo. And when anything is at 0 degrees, it is like purest, whatever. So this is like pure Virgo inner
Yeah.
energy. And
Like
for example, like
literal
President
purity.
Nelson is a Virgo. Um,
Uh-huh.
like it's the nurse of the chart. It's the wants to take care and make sure everyone is taken care of. It's a very service oriented energy as well. And so I really love that the moon of this moment was in Virgo.
Very interesting. What do you think? Did you have any thoughts about Black Moon Lilith right next to it?
No, because when I pulled my other chart, Black Moon Lilith was not showing up. I did not have that
Okay.
activated, so that is a new.
Maybe you had
Um,
something going on. Yeah, because I didn't have any insights to that one.
but so Black Moon Lilith she's kind of the medicine woman of the chart, and she
Yeah.
can kind of be a witch with a bee
Mm,
when she needs to be. Like the claws come out when they need to come out.
yeah.
Um, And it's interesting because you've got the moon at 0 degrees Virgo, and then Black Moon Lilith is right next to it, but it's in Leo. And
Yeah.
Leo, I think Leos love deeper than any other energy. I think that they have the biggest hearts above any other, like that Leo energy is just so loving and so
Mhm.
like wholehearted into whatever they do.
Yeah.
And so having that wholehearted witchy woman, medicine woman type energy there with the inner, like it's just, I think it's just kind of like a delicious, complex, kind of paradoxical conjunction there that just is like, we're gonna, this is gonna be a little spicy getting this mixed up. Like we're gonna shake stuff up a little bit. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
how that looks to me and feels.
Yeah. Very interesting. I'm gonna have to turn that one over a couple times.
It's a little tricky, but when you're reading an event versus a person, different things can have some different interpretations. And so um, I think Black Moon Lilith is a little harder to translate into like an event versus a person, but that could just be me too.
The first thing that came to my mind was like, well, in Leo, that's kind of like him getting the spotlight attention on him, maybe in a negative way. Um, that's
It
just what
can,
came to my mind.
yeah, it
The
totally
only
could
other
be.
thing I wanted to mention from this chart that I had was his back to his this transiting Jupiter here at 8 degrees conjunct his natal Pluto in Pisces. It's also sextiling his north node in Capricorn, which is conjunct his sun. So just even more evidence. There's probably like 4 or 5 major things happening that just show uh, his divine mission as a religious leader. Um,
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
And I think it's amazing looking at the chart of the moment and then here, you want to pull up your chart real quick and we can look at that because I think that even though it's a little, I don't know, sometimes when you put two charts together, it can get a little tricky to read. But when you take a chart, somebody's birth chart, and then you take a chart of the moment, like whatever time period, for this it's Joseph at 14, um, and you can really just see how the energy of that moment is interacting with that person's like energy blueprint of origin from their birth chart, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. So a person's birth chart is kind of like their natal promise. It's energies that lay dormant in the chart that can get activated, especially by outer transits to personal planets like the sun and the moon, Mercury, Venus as well, and the North Node, of course. And so, what we have here in the blue or in the middle circle is Joseph Smith's natal chart. So you can kind of see we went over this in last week's video. Maybe we can put the link for people to see that. And then in the red on the outside of the circle here, we have the transits going on from that exact date, which was March 26, 1820. So you can see it visually a little bit better. Um, where those outer planets are really hitting his personal chart. He's got this giant stellium. I feel like I just need to make this bigger at the top because that's all I wanted to share
Okay, maybe just zoom in and
regarding
just show that
that.
top part since it's all top heavy anyway.
Yeah, hold on.
You're
Your
good.
system is low system resources. Okay, my computer's alerting me to some audio issue. Okay, is that better?
Oh, there you go. That's great.
Perfect. So yeah, so people can kind of see like those transits that were happening in Pisces and Aries. And this was where an eclipse happened 10 days earlier. So we're still in that eclipse portal window, plus
Yes.
those energies play out for a while. And all of that squaring his natal sun here. And his natal sun is conjunct the Neptune and Uranus. Uranus, like you mentioned, it's really something majorly unexpected. And then Neptune next to it is like the disillusion of boundaries and the oneness of being one with like divinity and spirituality. Like having the veil lifted is what I picture. And Uranus there, it's like that shocking, it shocks you out of complacency with something, either an event, information, or resources. In this case, it was an experience with heavenly beings. And let's see, what else did I write about that? Yeah, it's like literally the Great Awakener. It's that shocks you out of complacency and illuminates something that you did not know before. And those alignments there are just too perfect not to share, so people could see it where it's happening and all these personal planets he's got right here in Capricorn and Sagittarius.
Yeah, it's just, and it's that's so in the transits, this is going to be hitting. Um, well, no, that's is it in his? It's in his ninth house, his natal ninth house, right?
The
Because the
Uranus,
houses are on his natal. Okay,
yeah, it's
so
right at the end, and then Neptune's right at 0 degrees Capricorn.
okay, and so all the if we look on the outside here over by the ascendant, like all of that action, all of the planetary action is really just like dancing across his ascendant. And so
Yeah,
that's like how he views the world. That's the lens that he um, sees and interprets and feels through. And it's just like, that's all about to change, Joseph. Like, not just for him, but for, the entire world. Like it didn't happen for the whole world that day, right? People didn't wake up, didn't understand, didn't, he told people, and then he got really judged and chastised for it. And so, what happened to him here that was like huge and miraculous that we are all in awe and reverence for, right? That wasn't happening for him in his life. Like it took several years for that to happen, for him to find people that believed him and that would, take into account and reverence what actually did happen. And
yeah.
so it just, I love it. The stars, like everything, like the weather, the maple trees, the Enix calendar, like it all testifies.
There was something that God wanted us to know about the date of his first vision, and it's amazing that you had that amazing connection on Sunday that happened out of nowhere. So we could go over that in the truest form. So there was just so many evidence in that documentary and what you presented. You know, it's I'm just so grateful that God cares about the littlest of things because we can find enjoyment out of all of his creations and every ounce of detail and have further evidence that, everything denotes that there is a God, that there is an order to the universe that he created, and that he has an order to his church and his gospel. And he called prophets. And I think there's so much evidence in Joseph Smith's chart that that's what was happening for him in the year 1820. So this was so much fun. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Um, if we have time, I can just kind of do a little sneak peek of the Enix calendar. Like seriously, go. Do you think we have time for that? Do we want to add that on?
Totally, if you want to.
I'll be quick.
Yeah.
But this is so much fun. So there we go. So March 26th, like Brittany was saying, like this was relevant to multiple things. So the book of Enoch was in the Bible, but it was taken out in 300 something AD. Oh, here we go, 325.
Yeah.
And it should not be part of canon. You can now get it in apocryphal text. But Dr. Pratt, he was an astrophysicist. He loved studying ancient calendars. And so he studied this. And this calendar is a 364-day calendar. And it breaks everything into, four seasons and the different solstice and equinoxes. And so like this is a little detailed. We're not going to go into this detail, but basically 364 years of time equals one great year. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of a important measurement in the calendar of Enoch. And you can go back in history and see pivotal events happening on these great years.
Yeah.
And so 2 great years equals 728 years, which equals a great week. And this isn't like high five, that's a great week. It just means it's a very important week.
Yeah.
And so the lifespan of the world is divided into 10 great weeks. So the ninth great week, guess what date? It began
No.
1820.
Oh, wow.
The first day of the ninth great week became on the first Sunday after the vernal equinox,
Oh
which
my God.
happens to be March
Look at
26th,
it. I
1820.
that's incredible.
Like it's
I didn't realize
incredible.
it was to the day. I just
It
thought it
was,
meant the whole year, like 18. What?
isn't that nuts? Like it,
Gosh.
yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
so this ancient calendar testifies that this date is pretty legit.
You know what's crazy
So
about that? You said it was the Book of Enoch. So all this information was taken out of the canon by the Catholic Church in the year 325
yeah,
AD. That is the same time that astrology was outlawed by the Catholic Church. And
interesting.
all of those scrolls were burned, and people even were tortured and killed to send a message that people were done with astrology. So here we are,
Here
me
we
and
are.
Nicole.
We are
Bring,
still in the ninth great week. We on the Enoch calendar, we're still in the ninth great week. It just started in 1820, just
yeah,
happened to be on March 26th. Um,
wow.
so it's insane, right?
Mhm.
So, oh, this is a little sneak peek. This is the Moroni's visit, his first visit.
What?
So
Wow.
it's interesting. We can maybe play with this later, but
Okay.
yeah, you're
Okay. I can't
Brittany, you're
stop
like,
it.
it's so good. Like, oh, it's just so good. So maybe we'll have to do that one. Uh,
Okay. I
but
guess there's part 3 coming.
part three coming. Who knew? We started a new little series inadvertently, but
Fun.
um, it just I just love it. Like I love multiple witnesses. I love that God isn't just like he doesn't send just one, right? Like there's always, and not just a person of a witness, there's like the stars are witnessing, the earth is witnessing, the moon is witnessing. Like it's absolutely insane. And I love it so much. It
I
just,
still can't get over that date. The Enix calendar was began on that date. How did I miss that in the documentary? I swear I watched it. But
yeah,
that was great the way you presented it. I'm glad you included that because that was really powerful. And I'm gonna lay awake at night just thinking about that. Like, what does that mean? If it really started, then that's just even further evidence, concrete evidence to me that this is the last dispensation before Christ comes again.
it really is just, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And I'm just like, it's so good. I'm just grateful for the opportunity that we're taking to bear witness and to share our testimony through our study of astrology, and it's just it's a fun thing. And all the links I'll definitely put in the description. So if you want to connect with Brittany, if you want to see the um, documentary, like it'll all be down in the description. So
Perfect. And for everyone watching, please comment and tell us what you think, what questions you have from our presentation here, and what you would like to see if we do a part three. Um, because I have a feeling we are not over.
who knows who'll be in church on Sunday? I don't know. Maybe Moroni will show up and say, you need to do this. I don't know.
Yeah, that was just too crazy. Anyways, thanks, Nicole. This was
This was so
awesome.
much fun. And thank you to you guys for watching us as we discuss the stars. Because it's just, you can't go to sacrament meeting and discuss this,
No.
unfortunately. But but we can do it here on YouTube. So
Here. All right. Well, you have a good one.
okay, bye.